new poll out says that Darren Bailey is leading Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin in the GOP nomination process for governor. And I want to hear from you at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. What do you think about this? Is this just polling data, or is this a sign of things to come? We've got 2 weeks and 1 day before the June 28th primary, if you believe that or not. So the poll data came from the Chicago Sun-Times, which also WBEZ, public radio up in the Chicago area. They put together this poll, and the headline is, Downstate Farmer Beating the Crop Out of GOP Establishment in Governor's Race by a nearly 2-to-1 ratio. And I think what's important here is it's above the percentage of possible error. Right, because that's always something in a poll that you look at is, how much of a possibility is there for an error to be made in the poll. Well, when Bailey's got a 15-point lead over Richard Irvin, that's above that margin of error quite considerably. But some other things that this poll asked also dealt with, for instance, the sentiments of voters, and are they persuaded by, for example, endorsements from other people. So the Sun-Times poll also found that Ken Griffin, who's been giving money to Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin, Michael Flynn, who was formerly of the Trump administration, they're not really swaying GOP voters in this particular race. Or other races as well for like U.S. Senate, for example. So the polling data rather fascinating, because what you find out here is that Bailey is leading considerably in this particular poll, and some of the other findings that this poll has is that regionally Bailey leads Irvin 29% to 21% in suburban Cook County. So that's even in the suburbs. Bailey's leading. 21% were not sure in the suburbs. Now, downstate, Bailey has a commanding lead over Irvin, 38% to 14%, with about 28% not sure. So you've got these ongoing polls, and we've got just about 2 weeks left. I do want to hear from you at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. But I also want you to hear from these candidates, and in particular, how they feel this poll is either helping or hurting them. And remember, there are 6 candidates on the ballot. 6 candidates: Darren Bailey, Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin, Jesse Sullivan, Max Solomon, Gary Rabine, and Paul Schimpf. So 6 candidates on the June 28th ballot here. And here's what Darren Bailey had to say about the poll released Friday, followed by Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin, and even for good measure, Governor J.B. Pritzker, who reacted to the polling data as well. So here are some of those sentiments here with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.
Just this morning early, Chicago Sun-Times put out an article, and we have a double-digit lead over our nearest competitor, which is 2 times what our nearest competitor is, and it's because of your hard work. It's because of your hard work. It's because of all of our work ethic. That's what's going to change Illinois, and I say thank you for that. Now the goal is to get the word out and make sure everybody understands that something different is on the horizon, and that we can never and will never go back to where Illinois has just come from over these past 3.5 years under a tyrannical man, J.B. Pritzker's control.
Listen, J.B. Pritzker is on track to spend over $35 million in a Republican primary. A Democrat meddling in the Republican primary with negative campaign ads against me, tens of millions of dollars to take me down, and to prop Darren Bailey up. So you got to ask the question, why is he doing that? Why is he spending tens of millions of dollars in negative ads against me? Because he doesn't want to face me in the general election. That's exactly why he's doing it. And why is he spending just as much money to prop Darren Bailey up? Because he's trying to choose the Republican candidate that he faces in the general, one that he knows he can beat. I'll say it again. A vote for Darren Bailey is a vote to re-elect J.B. Pritzker.
Well, it's a ridiculous statement, the idea of equating the most conservative person on the Republican side with me. I'm a Democrat. I believe in the values of the Democratic Party. He's a right-wing conservative. He's anti-choice. I'm pro-choice. He's pro-Trump. I clearly have not been an ally of former President Trump. And so there's just no equating the two.
Would you rather face a Darren Bailey than a Richard Irvin?
I'll face anybody on the other side of the aisle.
So again, that's Governor J.B. Pritzker, but he is also facing a opponent in the June 28th primary, Chicago area nurse and U.S. Army veteran Beverly Miles. We really haven't heard too much about her, but she is on the ballot against J.B. Pritzker for the Democrats. But again, your thoughts on this poll that was released by the Chicago Sun-Times, putting Bailey in a commanding lead over Richard Irvin and some of the other candidates. Jesse Sullivan got 11% of support in that poll. Gary Rabine got 6%. Paul Schimpf was at 4%, and Max Solomon at 2%. Some other things that this poll showed was that the economy leads in the concerns of those who were polled, 44%. Crime and corruption, they both garnered 11% each. Taxes were 10%, followed by Second Amendment issues at 9%. Abortion was 8%. Something else or not sure was 5%. And education was 2%. And COVID-19 mitigations, a mere 1% of the support when it came to concerns that these individuals polled shared. So that's an outline of the poll. You had Darren Bailey kick off a tour yesterday by bus where he's going to be hitting up every county all throughout the state of Illinois in these past 2 weeks. And he says that this particular poll shows that there's a big change coming. Your thoughts? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hey, good morning, Greg. So as far as the governor's race, I'm actually supporting Jesse Sullivan. I find him to be very kind of down-to-earth, common sense. I like his where he's kind of wants to go on education, and especially some of the things that he wants to do as far as unions. I think unions have gotten a little too powerful, especially up in Chicago, and I think that we need to get some under control. And one more thing I want to say about political ads. I wish that when they do ads, they would have to tell either for Congress or for the state representative or state senate what district they're running in, because I'm relatively new to the area and don't know all the districts down here and who's running where and stuff, and I kind of want to know who I get to vote for in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that, especially with the new maps that were drawn. People are going to find themselves in totally different congressional districts than they were last 2-year cycle. Even the state house has changed their jurisdictions as well. So what I would encourage you to do, if you live in Sangamon County, go to the Sangamon County Clerk's website and you can search for a sample ballot. Then you just put in your address and you're able to find that, and you can do your research on who's either the Republican or the Democrat ballot who you're able to vote for. Now, every county should have something similar, so for the entire listening area, just reach out to your county clerk's office and you'll be able to find that. Hey, I appreciate the call, 217-629-7970. Good morning. Your thoughts on this recent poll putting Darren Bailey ahead of Richard Irvin?
Well, I'm a Republican. I'm going to vote. I haven't made up my mind yet. I mean, in some ways, my heart's kind of with Bailey, but I just don't see how he's going to do in the Chicago area. Not that Irvin's necessarily going to do a whole, clean up, but I just don't know how Darren Bailey would do in the general election across the state, and that gives me some pause. So I guess the point is I haven't made up my mind yet, although I like Darren, but I just don't see how he could win, and I don't want to waste my vote.
Yeah, and I think that's a concern that's been raised elsewhere as well, is Darren Bailey's politics ripe for Chicago area voters? Because that's going to be a major determinant in this statewide election. We don't have the Electoral College in the state of Illinois where, each county gets a proportionate of votes. No, it's a pure democracy. All right, so if you get 51%, you win.
Yeah, but the other point you got to have tens of millions of dollars to run in Illinois, and Bailey hasn't got it.
Well, but Bailey has gotten support from, I believe, Dick Uihlein, which has been giving him millions of dollars recently. Now, that, of course, is compared to Richard Irvin getting the tens of millions of dollars from Ken Griffin, compared to the tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars that Governor Pritzker's putting into his own campaign. So, this is going to be a big money race, but I think there's others out there who are sharing your concerns that you may like Bailey for how he stood up for certain things, but is he going to be able to garner enough support to beat Pritzker? And I think that feeds into what Richard Irvin had to say, that, quote, a vote for Darren Bailey is a vote to reelect J.B. Pritzker.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, I guess, any ADP, I guess. Anybody but Pritzker.
All right, well, I appreciate the call, and we'll take some more of them coming up after the break here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop. Continuing to take your calls at 217-629-7970 about the latest polling data from the Chicago Sun-Times and WBEZ that shows Darren Bailey has a lead over Richard Irvin after multiple previous polls showed Richard Irvin in the lead. And the Sun-Times headline was Downstate Farmer kicking the crop out of establishment Republican. So what do you think about this? 217-629-7970. I'd also like to hear your thoughts on what you think are the main concerns that are out there among voters, because the polling data suggests that the economy is top of mind with 44% of those polled. Then you've got crime and corruption getting 11% each. Taxes, about 10%. Second Amendment, about 9%. Abortion, about 8%. And then also you've got education and COVID-19 mitigation getting just 2 and 1% respectively. But this is, we got 2 weeks left before the election, before the June 28th election, and early voting's ongoing right now. And Darren Bailey is somebody who, he made some comments, and his staff made some comments over the weekend, and in particular, his lieutenant governor candidate, Stephanie Trussell. They were kicking off a statewide bus tour over the next 2 weeks. Wednesday, or rather Sunday, they were down in Effingham where they held an event. And Stephanie Trussell said, she's not sure. She had people come up to her and say they're not sure about if Darren Bailey is going to be able to do well in Chicago. And she said that's a sentiment that they're going to have to fight through. And we'll see if that's something they're successful in doing. But your thoughts here, 217-629-7970. You can also email bishoponair@gmail.com, or you can message me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just search out Bishop on Air and we can connect that way. But obviously with 2 weeks left in the election, it's going to get pretty spicy out there. And things are definitely going to be heating up. It's not just the gubernatorial election. You've got primaries for Secretary of State on the Democrat and Republican side. You've got primaries for local state house races, including state representatives and state senators. You've got the congressional election as well, and all eyes on whether or not Republicans in November are going to be able to take over the U.S. House and U.S. Senate. But before that, we've got this primary to get through. So are you a primary voter? If not, you're just going to sit back and wait and see what happens. We'll be talking about this for the next 2 weeks and beyond, no question about it. It's right here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Again, you can email me, bishoponair@gmail.com, or find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just search Bishop on Air, and we can connect that.